Hello and welcome to a rather wet UK, but on today's show we will be reminding you that the sun is just around the corner. Certainly horrendous conditions here in the UK at the minute, but what better time to practice your off-camber or wet route skills? It's certainly a seat down time, that's for sure. Speaking of which, Chris, I see a new product from Anomaly. Is it Anomaly or Anomaly in BC?
Yeah, Anomaly Constructs is the company, and they've come up with a pretty cool bit of kit for your bike. Not long ago, we were pretty excited by the use of dropper seat posts, but Anomaly have taken it one step further by this little clamp that fits on top of your existing dropper seat post, and it allows you to change that angle by 10 degrees all at the flick of a lever that is underneath the seat. So I'm thinking for real tech climbs, you can drop the saddle nose right down and really push into that seat. And then on the flat, you can obviously level it out. And then when it comes to downhill stuff where you want to be off the back of the bike, you can raise that nose up. So interesting little product there.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there because, you know, one seat position isn't actually the optimum position most of the time. And like you say, sometimes on the super steep climbs, you've got to get your weight right over the front and at the same time, keep some pressure on the saddle. So I think this is a really cool idea. Now, we saw a similar thing a few years ago when Specialized had their seat post, which went from a sort of laid back position in the low position, and then as you'd raise the seat, it would actually come up into more of a horizontal plane.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good bit of forward thinking here, Chris, right?
Definitely, and I think it's very applicable to e-biking, especially as you mentioned for those climbings. Being able to really push down into those seats on those tech climbs, I think it's going to be a winner.
Yeah. Now turning our attention now to some sunnier action. Back in the autumn, we were at the EWSE out in Pietroligura, but as I mentioned, it's pretty horrendous conditions here in the UK. It's a great time actually to switch from your dry weather tyres, maybe you'd have something like a Minion DHR, to a wet weather tyre such as the Maxxis Shorty, because if you've got tyres like this, you can pretty much ride as if they're dry weather conditions. But like I said, we were out in Italy a few months ago and we caught up with Vittoria Tyres, who've got a fresh range of e-bike rubber. Vittoria Tyres from Bergamo in northern Italy, founded in 1953 and the only bicycle tyre manufacturer to have a tread pattern with 4 different compounds. Now, recently they've come out with a new e-bike specific tyre range. Battery saving, so they say, extreme grip in 4 different compounds and reinforced casing. Now, I'm now joined by Tommaso Capella.
Hi.
Correct?
Yes, perfect.
Tommaso, 4 new tyres. Obviously there's the Martello, the Mazda, which is a very well-known mountain bike tyre, and 2 trail-specific tyres. Now, obviously there's a bit of something here for each type of terrain type that you might choose to ride in, right?
Indeed.
So it's a bit simpler than the choices that you faced with mountain bike tyres. Talk us through it.
Indeed, so that's the purpose why we came out with the E-specific range. So we want to help the tire choice depending on the kind of, let's say, the riding style. So maybe enduro, maybe trail riding, or also urban, why not?
Yeah. And this is my favorite. This looks like my favorite to me.
Yeah,
29 by 2.6.
I guess you'd love it.
Yeah, pretty aggressive. Like the look of that.
Yeah, and we call e-Mazda, let's say, our most resistant version of Mazda already existing. So here we have the enduro casing, which is a double ply casing that saves you from cuts on the sidewall, gives you a bit more support, especially with the weight and the forces applied by the e-bike.
Yeah, so this comes in 2.6 and 2.4.
Indeed, exactly.
And both in 29,
and 27.5.
So you've got this, which is, I'd say that's a super aggressive tyre for the conditions you'll find like here in Pietroligura. Moving on to the Martello. Slightly less aggressive, right?
Yeah, the Martello, let's say, is our enduro-specific tire made for almost every purpose. Yeah. That's a good rolling tire to be a so well-knobbed tire.
So well-knobbed? A so well-knobbed tire.
Yeah. I don't know if it makes sense in English, but you know, it makes sense to me.
So yeah.
Yeah, maybe we create some new words today. I say that because the martello in this kind of terrain gives you a little bit of extra protection against the cut of the rocks, because those sharp rocks, they just going to bite the open space between a knob and another. Here you have a bit more protection while having the same time a good grip.
Did you tell me that the person who designed this tyre also designed another quite well-known tyre, right?
Yeah, I think you can guess from the design of the tread somehow, and you can see there are a couple of improvements. So we have a double stage here, so double angle of approach on the ground. So you actually get the same effect of a ramp when coming to rolling performance, but at the same time you have two angles biting into the terrain, so that gives you at the same time better rolling, better grip on traction, and then those siping cuts that drive the flexion of the knob itself in the direction we want it to flex more easily.
Tommaso, I'm really interested in this. What you say here is battery-saving tyres.
Yeah,
that's a big subject. That is.
We know.
huge subject, because the difference between, say, a hard compound tyre and a soft compound tyre over, I don't know, maybe 10k could be something like 10 watt-hours or 20 watt-hours of your battery range. So, what are we talking here?
We don't want to mess up with numbers, because numbers in real life are influenced by so many factors.
Exactly, yeah.
We mean that rolling performance is something that we have been working on for ages already, and we are saving battery by offering a better rolling performance. So the compound, the casing construction, and all the things together, so compound, casing, and tread design.
But without compromising the grip of the tyre.
Indeed, no. Grip is our first focus, and then we want a tyre to be reliable and gives you the best performance possible.
Okay, perfect. Tommaso, thanks very much.
It's my pleasure, thank you.
Ah, yes, memories of the sun. It seems such a long time ago, doesn't it? Now, let's move now to something more realistic, and former World Cup 4-cross rider Johannes Fischbach seems to have been not keeping his powder dry, it seems. Chris?
Yeah, he's riding some pretty deep snow, isn't he, on this? Look at that, just carving around in that clip. And I bet that's an amazing workout, trying to, ride in that deep snow. And something that I don't think would even be possible on a normal bike. Do you think, Steve?
I don't like the snow, to be honest with you. My hands just get totally whited out by it. Now, Wayne DeVingo seems to be on some pretty handy rock work here, doesn't he?
Does, doesn't he? It looks quite similar to that white line trail that's out in Slick Rock, which looks pretty impressive, pretty sketchy, but this is close to Aaron Chase's home, and this is on the Cathedral Ledge, and it looks pretty sketchy to me. Look at that drop there down below. Awesome shot though. And lastly, we've got this pretty crazy clip coming in from Biker Riot. Now this is riding across a frozen lake. Not something that we recommend here on EMBN, but pretty impressive nonetheless. He's on a Levo here, and look at that, just cruising across it. It looks amazing, an amazing shot. Now that last clip's got me thinking that winter is actually the best time to be out there on your e-bike. What are you thinking, Steve?
I wouldn't say it's the best time. I certainly think that an e-bike allows you to get to places you wouldn't normally get to on a traditional mountain bike, things such as...
I think I definitely feel more motivated this time of year than I have done in the past, where I've ridden standard mountain bikes. I think that is a definite drag to get your ass out the door and get out there on a normal bike, but an e-bike just seems to draw me out there.
Yeah, you can get up climbs, even some mellow climbs which have got, which are a little bit waterlogged.
I think, or your tyres getting bogged up with mud, when you're going on a normal mountain bike. I remember you just go so slow that your tyres pack up with mud, and they won't even go round in your frame, but I've never experienced that yet on an e-bike.
So the tips we'd give you guys when it comes to riding in the mud, I think would be, number 1 is mud tyres, number 2 is certainly a mud guard, and number 3, can you think of a number 3, Chris?
I think momentum is definitely key, and all that real mud stuff. Just don't rely on the motor all the time. Just hit all that big muddy patches with as much speed as you can and help the motor through. And obviously gear selection and line choice is definitely pretty key this time of year.
Yeah, so guys, get out there in the mud, and don't forget to send us your clips of your dirty action from around the world.
Now you might be wondering where I got this really cool hoodie and that purple t-shirt that Steve's wearing. Well, it's all available in the EMBN shop, and I suggest you get in there and give it a visit. It is absolutely loaded with merchandise.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of shops, I'm at A-Cycles in Monmouth today, and as we know here in the UK, as in many parts of the world, a lot of us are restricted to our local area. So it's a great time to go and visit your bike shop, your local bike shop if you can. I know it's dependent upon where you live, and also to maybe support your local trail network and do some maintenance of those trails. Get out there, do a bit of physical digging and or cutting and clearing the trails. A great time to be getting involved in stuff like that.
Coming up on EMBN this week, we have got a great week of content as always, and kicking things off.
Can I just stop you there, Chris? It seems, Martin, what's that noise in the background there?
It's the work stand. It's the e-bike stand, basically.
Oh, a Park Tool e-bike stand. Crikey, wish I had room in my house for one of them. Sorry to interrupt you there, Chris. Carry on.
No worries. Yeah, on Friday we've got getting the most from walk mode. Now walk mode is often overlooked on your e-bike, and there's a lot of hidden tips and tricks, so look out for that one coming out on Friday.
Yes, and then on Sunday is a great piece that Chris done on how to make your e-mountain bike single speed. Wait for the reaction from the background. Single speed e-bikes, guys. Oh, pointless, Martin. Oh, frowns all round. Oh,
frowns and pointless.
Single speed e-bikes. He's busy on his phone. I mean, I should have a cup of coffee here, but you know. But yeah, it's a great piece that Chris has done, and it shows the pros and cons about single speeding your e-mountain bike. But Chris, I think one of the things that we really need is stronger chains on our e-bikes, right?
Stronger chains and gearboxes, I reckon, is the way forward for sure. Right, it's time for comments and questions from all of last week's video, and kicking it off, it's all about the 104 stage. And we've got this question coming in from JAP. What about the Bafang M600 and M500 on the 104 power stage? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we have actually got a Bafang motor going up the 104 stage. Unfortunately, the autumn came in, the winter months came in, and the conditions weren't the same as what they were on the other motors. So we're going to revisit that in the springtime and give you guys an update, because the Bafang motors are fantastic motors, that's for sure, from China.
And then we've got Bill Morris here. He says, I was disappointed that my new EP8 doesn't feel any more powerful than my E8000 motor. I'm not able to keep up with my friends Brose or Rocky Mountain. Will there be a software update to harness the full 85 Newton meters?
Yes, Bill. Well, you say that, but what I would say is that it's a different power in different places. All these motors, whether it be Brose, Specialized, the Bosch, the Yamaha, the TQ, and the Rocky Mountain. What you've got to bear in mind here, Bill, is that the Rocky Mountain has got 112 Newton meters of torque. So that's one of the most powerful e-bikes in the world. And what comes with that is the price you have to pay for battery consumption. So, yes, in certain places, the higher power bikes will be faster, but as we saw on the 104 climb, the TQ motor with 120 Newton meters didn't quite keep up with the Brose or the Yamaha bikes, and the reasons for that are quite complex. But when it comes to the actual power on the ground, see, there you go. And now that is the reason you should go and support your local bike shop. A nice fresh cup of coffee from Gareth at Ace Bikes. Gareth, thanks very much for that. Is there one sugar in that? Sorry, again, totally distracted here in the comment section. Chris?
We've got one coming in from Adam McCarthy here. He says, any advice on losing your mojo? I don't have an excuse, as I have a Nomad 4 and Commencal Metapower SX. But this lockdown has made me disinterested in the sport I've been obsessed with for over 20 years.
Sorry, I'm busy sorting my coffee out. What was that, Adam McCarthy? Losing his mojo?
He's lost his mojo, yeah, through this lockdown, so he's not feeling very motivated to get out there and ride. And I think that's a problem that a lot of us have maybe encountered, particularly, I'm guessing you're from the UK, with the winter conditions and stuff. But I think with the e-bike, it's just going to motivate you to get out there a bit more. Obviously, with your Nomad and things, it is a struggle this time of year. But I think with that e-bike, it'll motivate you to get out there and just make the most of it. Wear the right gear, you know, waterproof. I wear a waterproof onesie, overshoes, mud guards, and I'm prepped for anything. And I know Steve runs his wellies.
I think wellies are a fantastic bit of footwear for the winter. You keep your feet dry, you keep your feet warm. And of course, if you've got the right soles, you've got great grip on those pedals. Gareth, thanks for that coffee. It's time now for a bit of tech. I've just finished off a rocky road. That was as technical as I can imagine. Chris, talk us through what Walter's got here.
Yeah, Walter, he's out in Maschwanden in Switzerland, riding a few different bikes here by the sounds of it. He's got a BH Atom, a high bike and a Fantic, so loads of bikes, and he's been busy out in his workshop. He says that his bike stands are not as stable on his ground floor, which is an old cow shed, so he's used some interesting rope techniques to hang them up to get to work on that drive chain, which is pretty cool. And he says if you're wondering what the Forstdienst means, it means forestal services. So this gives them access to the woods to clean up and access and do a bit of trail maintenance, which I think is pretty cool too. And he's made a few nice mods to his bike. He's added a bash plate, a 32-2 chainring, when he's doing his trial stuff out in the woods, getting over the logs and rocks and things like that. He says, can't wait for Martin Ashton's next Trials Academy. He's a great personality, and lockdown is easier to survive with EMBN and GMBN providing content to keep him sane through those winter months. So nice one, Walter, and good work on those bikes. Right, it's time to go out and about all over the world to see where you guys have been riding your e-mountain bikes. What we got for the first one, Steve?
Yes, Chris, we're kicking things off this week with Jonathan out in Como in Italy on his Candel Montera in the snow there, early snows. Look at this next shot though. This is Andy in his Turbo Levo in Gisborough Forest. What a beautiful sunset that is. And look at that, look at that.
Kicker in the background.
What is the hill in the background? Guys, let us know in the comments down below. Then we've got Scott on his Trek Rail out in Warren, Pennsylvania, and Flip and a brace of Cube Reaction 500 Pros. But this is the start of the heat. Corey and his Focus Jam in Hurununi in Canterbury, New Zealand.
In where?
Hurununi.
I hope you're spitting your rocky road out saying that one.
Yeah. Now, closer to home, Tim has been riding out in the dark on his Merida E160. Nice bit of action there in the woods. It is good, isn't it, Chris? Nice. It's the kind of intensity of the woods in the dark is great.
It is good night riding, isn't it? And I think carrying on that snowy theme, getting a lot of wintry shots. And we've got Steve here. He's on his Vitus E Summit up at Holcombe Hill in Ramsbottom. Nice looking shot that, and I'm liking that dropper seat post protection you got going on there, little mud flap style thing coming on, nice little hack.
Yeah. But for me, Chris, it is this next shot from Frank out in Montfort, up at 3,328 metres. I mean, that's
high,
5 figures in terms of feet. That's probably 11,000 feet, isn't it? Out in his Turbo Levo, what a shot.
Yeah.
And followed very closely by Ale on his Norco VLT in Slovenia in the Vršac Pass, also at 1,611 metres. Now, moving further west and south to Mexico, Fernando, again on a Turbo Levo, out in Querétaro in Mexico.
I'm loving that old school Suzuki there as well. Looks like a good bit of off-road action.
Yeah.
SJ, isn't it? Something like that. Nice.
So again, the out and about section on the show continues to deliver some inspirational locations from around the world. Please, guys, we love seeing your content. So keep sending in your shots from whatever part of the world you're in. Right, well, it is now time for the bike vault, and I think where's Martin gone? Owen? Is he gone home? Or test ride? Right, it's time to be critical. Is it time to be critical or non-critical in this week's bike vault? What have we got to start off with?
We've got this great shot in from James. He's riding a Cannondale Matera up in Bentley.
Yes, I mean, great. Except the bike is dirty. Do you put dirty bikes in the bike vault?
Yeah, it shows they're being ridden.
It shows they've been ridden, but it doesn't show the bike off, does it?
True.
The thing is, the composition there, the bike's underneath the horizon. That could have been a killer shot. Sorry, James, that is nice.
Next up then, we got this one in from Stefan with a high bike, full fat 6 10.0 out in Jakobstad, Finland, out for a 30k ride in the snow. What do you think of that one then, Steve?
Stefan, I love the fact that you've got a bit of orange on a white background, but I think the bike could be shown off a little bit better than that. Maybe put the bike sort of at 90 degrees and you'd get a great shot. So now we've got Carsten out in Plattenberg in Germany. I think that beautifully shows off that high bike, doesn't it?
I don't know, I found it a little bit distracting. I do like the fact that he's not having to use a bike stand at all for this, the snow's that deep, but I think you're losing obviously the motor, you're losing half the wheels and the rotors and things like that. I think it is...
But a feeling, a Christmassy, snowy feeling, that's nice, isn't it? Or is it super nice?
Give him a super nice. Super, a bit too harsh.
Super nice.
And carrying on that snowy theme, this is Kerry with his turbo lever at the top of Skyland, Regos Mountain.
That's it. A great South Wales pronunciation there, Chris. Indeed, that is the Ricos with the Brecon beacons in the background. Actually, Owen, would you call it the Ricos or Regos? Regos, there you go.
Damn.
Regos, there you go. Now, that's a super nice shot because...
it's in Wales.
It's in Wales. No, bias aside, I think it shows the bike off. It's a nice angle Definitely. On the Levo and the bars are under the horizon. Oh, look at this, Ed and his Commercial Metapower SX in the Bailey plantation in the Isle of Man. That's not bad, is it? That's not bad. It's a good look. It's a great looking bike, that Meta SX, isn't it?
Definitely. And you're thinking for that one, super nice?
Up to you.
Super nice. And moving on to Scott out in Brisbane on Australia with his Ducati Thoc Custom MiG RR.
Now
great looking bike, says.
Do you know what? Now this is what I'm on about. That really does show that down tube of that Thoc bike really well, doesn't it? I said, I'm never into bikes being propped up on waymark posts, but in terms of the angle to capture that bike, I think that Scott has done a good job there. That's nice. That is nice.
You've got a bit of processing going on with this shot. I think this is from Paul on a Cannondale Matera out in Loxhaw in North Devon. First out of lockdown ride with the boys. Good looking bike, that. Nice colour, isn't it? That one, it's like that kind of duck sort of feather colour, isn't it? That oil sheeny colour, I'm thinking. What do you think of the photo processing those, Steve?
It's nice. But what about Luke and his YT Decoy Elite out in Tegernsee in Bavaria? Maybe my thing is my eye is going to the seat and the side there. I think that's a nice shot.
Definitely.
And moving on to Mark and his E-Summit on Saddleworth Moor.
Looks a cold one.
It does look a cold one, doesn't it?
New Year's Day ride to blow off the cobwebs. I'm thinking the angle of the bike isn't bang on, but I think with that backdrop and the fact you're out there on a super cold day, I'm going to give that one a super nice. And that is the last shot in the bike vault, Steve. So what for you is going to take bike of the week? Some great shots this week from all over the world.
They are very snowy shots this week for sure. No, we had a tie last week, didn't we?
We did.
I mean, even though there's a lot of bikes leaning up against the post there, I don't actually think there's been any standout bikes in this week's bike vault. I think we're going to roll over. I think we're going to roll over.
We're going to take the double. Going to take it to a double winner next week, are we?
I think a double winner next week, if you don't mind. So that is it for this week's show, guys. Thanks again to Ace Cycles for hosting us with some fantastic coffee. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a great time to support your local shops and your local trail network. Let us know your thoughts about Vittoria Tyres. Don't forget to send us in your dirty content from around the world in these dark months. And we will see you next week.
Cheers for watching, guys.